Let me move this over. Let's get a little more light in here. So hello everybody, this is Carla and welcome back to the studio. And thank you for joining me for another episode of Throwback Thursday. Let me move this up just a little tiny bit so you can see everything, and let me move my laptop kind of like out of the screen here so we have more space, because this space fills up pretty quickly as we get crafting here. So for this episode of Throwback Thursday, I have pulled out the Magnolia Lane suite. So this is a pretty big suite when it was in the catalog. I think this was in our was it 2019, 2020 annual catalog. This suite had a package of 12 by 12 designer series paper. This, I believe, is called the Magnolia Lane designer series paper. And in here, basic black, early espresso, mossy meadow, petal pink, so saffron, and at the time it was whisper white, but now it's actually basic white. This also had like two stamp and die bundles. Well, no, actually, it had two stamp sets and one set of dies. So there's the Magnolia memory set of dies. And then the stamp set, there was this individual photopolymer set called Magnolia Bloom. So it has smaller images of the flowers, has a couple of greetings in it. And then and then there's Good Morning Magnolia. So this was a pretty big cling stamp set. So it was actually in two cases. So you have set one of two. So you have the one set that's got the two greetings, the hello and thanks, along with the great big magnolia flower. And then the other cling set has more of the greetings, and then it has like this bud, and of course a little bit of a decorative element. Now again, these were in two different cases, but I did take them, and just to save space when I was storing them on the shelf, I was able to combine all of those stamps into one case, just so that I can save some time. But again, we'll save some space, actually, not time. So again, the Good Morning Magnolia was actually two stamp cases. I just combined the two of them together. Also, of course, I apologize for the glare from my lights that are on the packaging. Then with the suite, there is the Magnolia 3D embossing folder. So I'm using this on one of the cards. And then there's also the Magnolia Lane ribbon combo pack. So you have a mossy meadow, like linen thread, and then there is this um, what color would that be considered? Like almost like a flax color or a crumb cake color to it. So we're going to be using this on our cards as well. So let me move my lights back in. Let me kind of take this stuff out of the way, and we'll get started with our first card. Oh, I'm running out of space here. Okay. So for my first card, this card is a very quick and simple card. This, you can basically take this this layout. You can use, it's a great way to use up some of your designer series paper, and just work with the colors that are in the designer series paper to determine what color cardstocks that you're going to use. So for my card base, I have a piece of Petal Pink. This measures 8.5 by 5.5, scored it at 4 1/4. I have a piece of basic white. This measures 5 1/4 by 4. I have a piece of that Magnolia Lane Designer Series paper that measures the same size, 5 1/4 by 4. And then out of scraps, so out of one of the sheets of the designer series paper, I had used, I punched this out using, let me make sure I've got the right one. I punched it out using the 1 3/4 inch circle punch. And then out of a piece of Petal Pink, I punched this out using the 2 inch circle punch. So let me kind of put those out of the way. Okay, so we're going to fold and burnish our card base. And this card goes together pretty quickly as well, but it kind of has that little bit of a wow factor to it as well. Okay, so in the stamp set, I'm going to make this card a happy birthday. So I'm going to bring in the Magnolia Blooms stamp set. And again, this is Photopolymer. And let's pull out happy birthday. And I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Pierce mat because being that it's photopolymer, this gives a little bit of a cushion, plus it gives us a better stamped image. So I'm going to put that on my block. Now a little tip on what I have done. So I'm going to use Memento Tuxedo Black ink to stamp my greeting. And I'm going to stamp this on my piece of basic white. I'm going to stamp it up in this upper right hand corner. Now what I have done, when you get Memento, it comes in a felt pad. So I got this tip. There's other demonstrators that do this. Our white ink pad, it comes uninked, and then you get a little white ink refill, and then you add that ink to your pad. Now the white ink, it's a pigment ink. It's almost the texture of like a white paint as opposed to our dye inks, which are a little bit thinner. And so because this ink pad comes uninked, what you do is you get a ink refill of the Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and then you ink up the foam pad, which I have done here. You can see it didn't quite get that very, you can't see it like on the edge, but I did add quite a bit of ink to this. So I found that when you add your black ink to the foam pad, that that the Memento stamps like a very vivid dark black, whereas if you stamp it using the felt pad, it doesn't give you that really dark vibrant image. It's almost, when you use it in a foam pad, it makes it look like that you have stamped this using the Stays On ink, which is a more permanent opaque black ink. So I'm going to ink this up, and I'm going to bring this down a little bit so I can get this straight. So I am going to stamp this. Wow. I'm sorry guys, I got to bring it a lot closer. I'm going to stamp this right in this upper right hand corner. And you can see how nice that stamps that. Okay. So the only thing is when you have it like this, one word of advice I would give is after you stamp it, set that aside for a little bit to let that completely dry, so that way you don't smear the ink on there. Okay, I'm gonna just kind of like fan this off camera here, because usually whenever I put my hand underneath the camera, it ends up causing the camera to try and focus in and out. So we don't want to go and confuse the camera itself. Okay, let me bring this down just a tiny bit. Okay, so for this punched out piece here, I am going to take that bud. Now designer series paper has a whole bunch of these on there, so I just took my punch and I punched one of those out. I need my glue. Hold on one second. I was working on the projects for my Friday Night Live, so I've been working on those, and I added more glue into my bottle. So this is the Tombow multi-purpose glue that we have in our annual catalog. And this bottle here is a fine tip glue bottle that I got off of Amazon. The reason why I like to put my glue in this is because the Tombow glue, it has a latex in it, so it sticks really, really well. And you don't need much glue at all for this. So I find I have better control when I have it in this fine tip glue bottle. And then we're going to place this right in the center, like so. Okay, we'll put that aside. Then I'm going to, let's see, what am I going to do next? I'm going to bring in, because I want to give that a little bit more time to dry. So I figure if I do all the bits that I need to do ahead of time, let me do that first. Okay, so this is the Mossy Meadow twine that is in this 2-pack of ribbon here. And I'm going to double it up, and I am going to do a double-stranded bow. And this is pretty, I find that this is pretty easy to work with and tie my bow. And hopefully I've given myself enough here for my tails. Don't need it too big. Okay, and then I'm going to kind of bring these together, and I kind of want to have these even. So let me get my snips, and I'm gonna cut that. So there's our bow. Okay, let's put that in there like so. All right, so then I want to take, so the designer series paper, what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to place this right over my my piece of basic white. So these are both the same size. What I want to do is I want to fold this corner, the upper right hand corner, down. So I want to try and get this straight, like so. And then I'm going to use my bone folder just to burnish this really well. And then I'm going to take my liquid glue, and I'm going to add glue to this edge right here. So basically all the edges. And let's see this side here. And then more on the back here. And then I'm going to line this up with this piece of basic white. And I want to hold it, and I want to press this all down. Okay, and then I want to add a little bit of glue right on the back there, and I'm going to fold that over. So you can add glue to the whole back of this flap right here, but I'm going to just put it like on this end, so it gives it a little bit of a lift and a little bit of dimension. Now you can do, if you want to give it a little bit more of a lift, you can put dimensional right here on this corner, and then you'll have a little more of a lift. However, for this piece right here, I'm going to add dimensionals to the back of this, so it's going to be lifted up, and I don't know if I want to have, you know, too much bulk on, especially when you're mailing your cards. You don't want to be your card to be too bulky, or you could end up paying more in postage on your card. So just a little tip. All right, and then I'm going to take this and I'm going to add that right there like so. So really, really cute. I just like the way that lays out. And then I want to take this piece now and I'm going to add glue to the back. Okay, and then we'll put the center of this onto our card base. Like so. Okay, and then we're done with our glue. And then I'm going to bring in my glue dots. And let's get our bow on there. Okay, and then I'm going to place this right here at the base of my flower like so. And then so with this suite, there was also with it, there were memory and more cards and envelopes that went with it. There were also these cork, like little elements. So there were like little flowers, there were little tags, but I don't have those. So these came later on. So I'm going to use the brushed brass butterflies. I thought that these would go along with this really nicely. So I'm going to add one of my larger ones right here under the happy birthday. And then there's smaller ones. I'm going to add one right here on my punched out piece, and then we'll do another one right up here like so. So there is our first card. So this one went together very, very quickly and easily, and I really like just a different take on using like the designer series paper. And again, if you have a large stash of designer series paper, this is great to use it up, and you can do this in many color combinations. Just look at the colors that are in your paper to determine what color cardstock to use. So there is our first card. So let me now get everything for our second card. In our second card, we're going to be doing some coloring on this one. Again, there's like a whole lot that goes to this suite that, you know, it's one of those things that, okay, deciding on projects, you know what, try to use as much of the product that's in the suite as I can. So that's kind of like my goal. So let me do this. Let me clean this stamp really quick so we don't get any black ink on anything. And I apologize for the shaking. My camera stand is attached to this table that I am filming at. So let me put that back. Okay, so that's the Magnolia Bloom stamp set. So we're not using that one in this card. We're going to use the hello that's in the Good Morning Magnolia. So the hello, and ahead of time. So what I did was on a scrap piece of basic white, I had stamped this really large bloom using early espresso ink. My card base is, this is Mossy Meadow. It measures 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. I have a piece of So Saffron. This measures 5.25 by 4. And ahead of time, I don't know if you can see it, but I did emboss it using the Magnolia 3D embossing folder. So this is kind of like in the background, so just a little bit of dimension in that this base layer that'll go behind our bloom. And then I have a scrap piece of So Saffron. We're going to stamp our hello greeting in early espresso ink. And then we're going to punch that out using the 1.5 inch circle, 1.5 inch circle punch. Then we're also going to be doing some coloring as well. So let me get my ink here. And let's get our piece of cardstock, our greeting. And I will stamp that right here. Okay. And I will let that dry some. So I'll set that aside and then we'll punch that out when we're ready for it. So I am going to fold and burnish my card base. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in my glue. And I'm going to add some glue to the back of this, and I'm going to adhere this down to my card base. So instead of taking a layer of this So Saffron and just using one of the many textured embossing folders that Stampin' Up! Has sold that I have in my stash, I decided let's just use the one that goes with this suite. And to be honest with you, and I'm thinking from, you know, like all the years that I have had this suite, I think this, to be honest, I think this may be the first project that I have made where I've actually used that embossing folder. So even by itself, I mean, if you just add a greeting and maybe a little bit of embellishment, I mean, you have a pretty cool looking card right there, just with that embossing folder. So really cool. All right, so let's close this up. And then I'm going to get my punch and we'll punch out our hello. Just center that, punch that out. Okay, and then we're going to do some coloring. So let me grab my piece of scrap paper here. And the colors that I'm going to use now, usually in suites, they have never added like Stampin' Blends to them, but when you look in the catalog in the suite, it did have, at the time, it would have been new colors of blends. So that is the dark and light So Saffron. And then in addition, I brought in the light and dark Mossy Meadow. So these colors were definitely available at the time when this suite was out. But recently, just a few short years ago, maybe 2, pecan pie became a color in our color collection, so I'm bringing that into some really nice colors here that we're going to use. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to use my light pecan pie, and I'm going to color the stem in. And then I'm going to do the center of my flower. Okay, and then I'm going to take my dark, and where there's these little hash marks here that are for the shadows. I'm going to add that. I'm going to do a little bit in the center. Then I'm going to take my light Mossy Meadow. Let me see what my brush tip looks like. Okay, that don't look bad. And I'm going to color the whole leaf in. And I'm using the side edge of my marker so that way I don't damage the tip, because these tips on these markers can get damaged very, very easily. So I'm just going to give all of these leaves a base coat of my light Mossy Meadow. Okay. And then we have, let me see here. I'll make sure I'm coloring the leaf and not getting one of the petals to the flower. And what's nice, I don't know how many different colors that magnolias come in. I guess typically I've seen them in white with a little bit of that, was it the pink or the purple in it? But I'm going to color mine using this, both the light and the dark So Saffron markers. Now the thing is with So Saffron, the colors are very light. So when I use the light So Saffron, it's like you're really not going to see it. But you're going to see just that little subtle shade of the yellow. And again, like I said, this is a large stamped image. You actually need, so the largest acrylic block that we have is the F block, and that block is big enough to stamp our big background stamps. And that's actually the block that you need to stamp this bloom, because the other ones are just too small. All right, and then I'm going to take my, actually, I think what I'm going to do first, I'm going to take my light So Saffron. Now, I can tell you that the brush tip on mine is pretty beaten up here, but to color this, you can see, you can hardly see that at all. Let me try the bullet tip. So it's just very, very faint. And I don't know if this is just, it's probably like drying out as well, because I've had this like for quite a long time. And even though it's a retired color, typically what I try and do is purchase another set before they're completely gone. So I probably have another set, but you can kind of see, I don't know if you can see with the lighting, but there's the white, and then here's where I colored with the So Saffron. So this is, the light one is definitely really, really light. So I'm going over the whole entire bloom using the light. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to dry, so then that way when I go over it with the dark, you'll really see the dark. Now, typically, you know, you can use blends different ways. So if you want a really good shading where the colors are really blending well, you want to put down your base color. And again, it can be the light. You can start with the light or you can start with the dark, whatever your preference is. And then while the ink is still wet, you come in with the other marker and then you do your blending. Now what I'm doing, I'm going down with the light first, and then I want this to dry, so then when I come in with my dark, because the dark one isn't very dark at all, I do want it to show up when I color with it. So in order to do that, I want this light So Saffron to be dry. And it's hard to tell where I've actually already colored, so I'm going to go back over that again. And I think I got this petal. I'm not 100% sure. So I'll add another coat of this color. And for some reason, it seems like the blends that we have in shades of yellow are stronger in that alcohol smell than some of the other markers I found. Because this is pretty strong. Okay, so I don't want to add too much because I don't want to make this really like soaked to where it's not going to dry. But you can see that it's just a really faint, it's a really faint yellow, really, really faint. So let me kind of air dry this a little bit. I'm going to come in with my dark Mossy Meadow. I'm going to add some shadows in the leaves of that. But I want to try and get that dry some. All right, so on here, I'm going to, basically where I'm seeing these little hatch lines, that's where I'm going to add so I'm not being really like perfect with it. And I'm not going to go back over this either with my light one to kind of like blend these two together. I'm just going to leave it like this. Okay, then we got this little base of the leaf. Okay, so we got those. Let's get this side. Just adding that shadow around the base of the leaf there where it comes just underneath that flower petal. And then we got one more. Okay. So we don't want to overwork it. All right, and then we're going to come in with our dark So Saffron. And again, this is going to come out subtle now. I'm going to use my brush tip. My brush tip is not the best, but I find that I got more color that comes out from this brush tip rather than the bullet tip. It's crazy. And of course, this brush tip has seen better days. Okay. I think we're pretty good here. All right, so you can see a little bit more of the yellow now that I've added that darker So Saffron on there. Okay, so then I'm going to take my dimensionals and we're going to add some to the back of this, and because this piece is so large, I'm going to add a few so we don't have a saggy image. Let's see, we'll add 2 more down here, down here. Okay, and then I'm going to take my card base and I'm going to take my bloom and I am going to add it right over here like so. And then let's leave that out for a second. Then I'm going to take my ribbon here and I'm going to bring in that other one, the one that looks more like flax, or however you want to describe this. It's just, I think it's very pretty. But here's what it looks like out of that plastic wrap. Very pretty. Okay, so what I want to do is I am going to like zigzag this behind my hello. Okay, so let me get my scissors. And I'm going to cut it like so. Then I'm going to bring in my seal. And I'm going to add some right over back here. Take my ribbon, do a zigzag, and then I'm going to place it right here. Let me kind of bring this down just a little bit. Like so. Okay, and then we're going to add some dimensionals to the back of this. I'm actually going to use 3, not 4. And we'll remove these. And let me get this out of the way. And then we're going to place our hello right over top of that ribbon. And then I'm going to bring in those brushed brass butterfly embellishments, and we'll add a few on here. Let's see, put one here, and then let's add another one right down here on our hello. And then one more little bit of bling to add to this. I'm going to bring in my clear Wink Stella, and I'm going to add some onto my bloom. I'm not going to worry about adding it to the leaves or to the branch. I just want it on these petals. And of course, what's happening, the Wink Stella is touching that early espresso ink, and it's starting to smear some of that ink. I think I got all of it. Let me just kind of turn this to look. Looks like I got all of it, so there we go. So there is, let me just get this out of the way. So there is the second card. I don't know if you can see that Wink of Stella on there, but I really like how this came out. So let me bring in the first card that we did. So a little interesting like fold there with our designer series paper. And again, this card layout is very, very simple and easy, and it's a good way to use up some of that designer series paper that you may have in your stash, especially when it's double-sided and you have a nice little print on the other side. And then here's our second one where we stamped and die cut the really large bloom that's in that stamp set and then colored it in with our blends and also used the embossing folder that's part of that suite. And then we also used both of the ribbons that were in that combo pack that's part of the suite. So if you like the projects that I made in this episode of Throwback Thursday, again, Throwback Thursday is where I bring out my retired stash and I create two cards using everything, if it's the suite or it could be a bundle or it can be an individual stamp set. It's just basically it's a way for me to use up my retired stash. It's also a way, if this is product that you have, it gives you a little inspiration, to where you can pull it out and kind of play with it again and do some different things and use some new product with it as well, whether it's the designer series paper or something. You can color your bloom in based off of the colors of your paper if you use it in your card. So it's great that, with this, I'm able to pull out that retired stash that I have a whole lot of and just give you a little bit of inspiration each week. So every Thursday, I have a video posted for you to give you some inspiration. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please subscribe and click on the little notification bell. It'll let you know whenever I post a video and when I go live. So every week I do, like I said, I got a Throwback Thursday where I do a pre-recorded video. And then on Friday nights, I go live at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And that's where I use a current product that you can still get at the time that I do that live. So tomorrow night, I will be using the Meant to Be. I'm calling it a whole suite. It is in our current scrapbooking brochure. And so you have the whole scrapbooking workshop kit, which has all these papers and two-tone cardstocks and some stickers that you can use in your card making. It's not just for doing scrapbooking. And then there's also the 12 by 12 designer series paper that, if you remember, I think it was last year around this time, we had the Be Mine Valentine suite, which it had. So this set has like a coordinating stamp set along with a coordinating punch that you can actually still get in our annual catalog. The designer series paper has the same designs. They just changed up the coloring in it. This one has some petunia pop in it. So it's a really pretty paper. And what else? Oh, and then the bees in this stamp set are a little bit smaller than what's in the punch. And it also has some really cool coordinating dies that go along with it. So I've worked on those projects and they came out really, really cute. So I hope that you can join us tomorrow night for that. Also, in the description, there's a few links in there. There's a link that'll take you to our last chance products list that we have online. We also, let's see, we just got done with celebration at the end of February. I do have a newsletter that I send out. Typically, it's the first Tuesday of each month. My newsletters are going to have the video schedule of for that coming for that month. So for March, I have listed everything that I'm going to be using for my Throwback Thursdays and my Friday night lives and let's see, things that Stampin' Up may be doing, things that I may be doing, all of that is in my newsletter. So if you would like to subscribe to that, there is a link in the description. You just click on that link, you add your first and last name along with your email address, and then when I go to send it out, it just goes out to everybody that's subscribed to my newsletter. And the newsletters, like I said, I typically do those the first Tuesday of the month. So I just did it this past Tuesday. And what else? What else do I want to say about it? Oh yeah, I don't bombard you like every week or every day with a newsletter. I usually do only one a month, but if there is anything that comes up, like say in the middle of the month, like some kind of promotion or whatever, then I'll send another one out to let you know about that. And if you are not working with another demonstrator and you are here in the United States and you would like a paper copy of our annual catalog and our January to April mini, and we have coming up a new annual catalog that I believe will be going live in early May. If you would like those, and again, if you're not working with another demonstrator, because there is a cost to the catalogs, and plus the shipping as well, well, the postage on mailing them as well. In the description is my email address. If you're only seeing part of the description, just click on the more and everything will show. And just send me an email along with your name, mailing address, and let me know which catalogs you would like. And I'd be more than happy to get them sent out to you. So until then, everybody, thank you for joining me for this episode of Throwback Thursday. I will be back next Thursday and I will be using the Lucky Clover stamp set. Now, it was a bundle with a clover punch. However, what that punch sold out very quickly and it didn't come back, and unfortunately I wasn't able to get it, but I have the stamp set, so we're going to create with that because we're going to be close to St. Patrick's Day, so I'm going to create with that next Thursday. So again, I hope that you can join us tomorrow night at 7 p.m. right here. uh, we're going to have a good old time here in the studio. So wherever you may be, everyone, if you're dealing with cold, snowy weather or stormy, tornadic type of weather, or if you're dealing with any other thing, be safe and everyone have a blessed one. And I will see you either tomorrow night or next Thursday for my next episode of Throwback Thursday. Have a blessed one, everyone. Bye bye.